Hi students! I've been thinking a lot about supporting you in writing your professional practice goal. And so I'm going to give you some suggestions that may or may not help you, but hopefully this conversation will be supportive while you're drafting and revising your goal. So I was thinking about what are the steps in the process of creating a good professional practice goal. And so the first step is really completing the self-assessment on the CAP portal. So identifying the elements that you really want to work on during your practicum. So what's going to be really helpful for you. So if you actually think about it, you're going to be working in one of these areas to develop your goal. So subject matter knowledge, well adjustment units and lessons, adjustments to practice, meeting diverse needs, a safe learning environment, high expectations, and reflective practice. So typically, students work within these areas because those are the areas that are most difficult to accomplish. So even seasoned teachers will typically still be working within these areas for years. So you're going to identify one area or element to focus in, and then you're going to reference the CAP rubric. So to me, thinking about the language within the CAP rubric, that's really going to be what you're going to be assessed on. That's what the Department of Education is really looking for from you within these elements that you're going to be focusing on. So it would be really helpful if you use the language within there to be able to support you in writing that goal. So I began to play around with the language in there and think about how it would help me in determining whether my goal was a SMART goal or not, and whether all of the elements were in the goal that I drafted. So I decided to select adjustments to practice, which is a pretty typical goal that you'll be thinking about. And I decided to look at the language inside of the rubric. So you'll want to either look at it electronically, or you might want to print it out just so that you might be able to write on it. So I looked within adjustments to practice, and the areas that you're really going to be focusing on that you want to either be proficient or perhaps someday be exemplary. So exemplary really is that you're able to model all of these skills for others. And so until you're really ready to put on professional development or teach colleagues how to do a certain aspect within your profession, you're probably going to be aiming for somewhere within the proficient range. But you can look at the language within exemplary and within proficient to be able to support you in your writing. So I sort of looked across these two areas and said, like what could I pull out and how could I make this be my SMART goal? So we know SMART goals, right? We know the goals themselves, right? In order to be SMART, they have to be specific, they have to be measurable, action-oriented, rigorous, timed and tracked. And we know these two areas that the Department of Education have added on are inclusive and equitable, so they meet the needs of all learners and not just some of the learners within your class. So as I was thinking about this and really sort of fishing through the language, so you'll notice some direct correlations between what's here and what I created in this draft goal. So I just wrote this on a piece of paper. It's far from perfect, right? But I'm hoping that after I look at this language and think about really how I can make this fit the context of my own school placement, that I can sort of modify what's here and make it work for me to make it be a SMART goal. So I'll just quickly read it for you, just so that you can see how I really synthesize the language that's here, right? So it almost matches. I'm not sure you can see both of it, but I'm sure I'll show it to you after. So By the end of my practicum, I will make adjustments to my practice in real time and in upcoming lessons or units during writing instruction. I will accomplish this by analyzing student work using grade level benchmark papers, writing rubrics, pre and post writing assessments, and anecdotal notes taken during writing conferences. This will be assessed through observation feedback, lesson plans, reflective journals, and the summative feedback noted in the CAP assessment. So you'll notice that that exact language is inside of the rubric. So real time, upcoming lessons and units, right? Analyzing results, right? So I modified, right, a variety of assessments to the assessments that might be available within the context of your school placement. So you may have some different assessments to list there, right? But I want to note if I believe that my goal is a SMART goal. So I'll really want to even use a highlighter and say, okay, so let's think about this, right? So do I have all of the aspects within my goal to make it a SMART goal? So is it specific, right? Am I working on something specific? So if I want to think about the specificity of this goal, right, it's going to be really during writing instruction, right? And I'm really working on that element of adjusting your practice. So those are two things that are very specific. I can also note that it is measurable. So where is it measurable? How am I measuring this? So it's going to be assessed through observation feedback, lesson plans, reflective journals, and the summative feedback noted in the CAP assessment. So yes, it is measurable. Is it action-oriented? So how am I going to carry out this goal? So I will accomplish this by analyzing student work, grade level benchmark papers, writing rubrics, and pre and post writing assessments and anecdotal notes taken during writing conferences. Is it rigorous? I would say that it's definitely rigorous. It's definitely realistic. It's something that you're going to be doing every day as an educator. And the aspect of writing instruction itself is definitely very rigorous. I believe it is realistic because it's something that happens in your daily practice. And is it time tracked? So what is the time aspect of this? So by the end of my practicum, right? So there's that time piece, right? I could make it more inclusive, right, and equitable, because I could say that I will make adjustments to my practice in real time in upcoming lessons. I could say I would also differentiate instruction to meet the needs of diverse learners, right? So you could revise and change this. So by really using the language in the rubric and really sort of even highlighting to say whether or not you have accomplished all of these aspects in your goal may be really helpful as you're drafting this process. So I'm happy to meet with you if you have other questions and other things that you want to think about moving forward when you are writing your student goal, right? So your student sort of achievement goal, right? You can align these goals directly because you can think about how much growth you'd like to see within writing instruction. So you can use some of these same assessments and notice growth between a pre and a post so that both of your goals align and you can use the same type of feedback as you're moving forward. So that's something to think about in your next steps. So I look forward to having conversations with you, and I look forward to reading your individualized and professional goals.